Nads, what'd you bring us today?
JDM cars.
What kind of JDM cars?
Officially legal imported JDM cars. A little Nissan action.
I know. Oh, you guys are thinking Honda, I bet. Nads a little sensitive about the Hondas because internally some people kind of don't like them, but how do you feel about them, Nads? We know
I like all cars.
Yeah.
And I like all JDM, but I segmented into the Honda specialist.
Well, you know, I'll be honest. I was a little bit of a Honda guy when I started in cars, but it never went far. And I kind of fell away from those cars, but the ones you brought here have been nuts.
Thank you.
Can't even deny it.
Thank you.
But today, he brought us a different kind of JDM.
R32 Skyline and a little bit of a twist.
Say thank you, Nads.
Love and hate. Love, you gotta put up with me to see this.
Whoa.
JDM Nissan Pao. Now, hold on. Technically, this isn't a Honda, but this front end looks like for the JDM fanatics, it looks like an N1. And that's close enough to be a Honda, so in that case, come on, I get to celebrate.
We haven't even met the guest yet.
This is kind of like a Honda.
We haven't even met the guest yet, and you already cracked your beer.
Well, I'm happy.
I'm drinking orange juice.
Is that orange juice?
It's fucking orange juice. There's nothing else in it.
Okay.
Let's find your boy.
Let's go find our boys. Hello, Sean.
Hi.
I have to introduce this guy. I've known him for nearly 20 years. He raced a minivan in one lap of America. A minivan, a Sienna with Rutledge Wood, I believe, of all people.
Yes.
He had the stones to enter an R34 GTR World Challenge when the Cadillacs and the Corvettes were just crushing all. Not your finest moment, but you guys put up a valiant effort.
It was a tough year.
You ride on board with unique look, the right-hand drive entry from Igor Shushko.
He also was one of the men responsible for Big Bird, which if you know what the Big Bird was, it's the big-time R33 GTR that raced at Pikes Peak, and it was Leon's car in Fast and the Furious 1.
Right. Yes.
So basically, you two are ancient history in the industry.
Ancient history. Yeah. Long time.
But even more important than that, you were part of a company called Motorex. So that was how not to import.
What does he do?
He's an importer.
Just imports, no exports?
He's an importer-exporter.
Now the story I heard, if this may or may not be true, is that only the 33 was crash tested and certified.
Well, yeah.
You're already wasted,
I know,
John.
I'm white girl wasted.
So here's the thing, the NHTSA is a complicated agency, and everything isn't like cut and dry. We said, look, they want you to crash what you call a worst case scenario, or what you might think. So we said, look, these cars are real similar. They care about the overall structure, overall design of the car. If you're gonna have to crash test a car, what are you gonna crash test? The best, most expensive car you can, or you're gonna crash test what you can get away with, which was R33 GTST dual airbag, because that was what was gonna perform best in the test. That's what we crashed, that's what we showed them, and then the R34 actually hadn't even been released when we crash tested that. And so what we went back to the NHTSA with was look, this is an R34, the same things, but here's some stuff that's different about it. NHTSA said, that's fine. I can make complete engineering arguments that R32, 33, 34 are basically the same car.
Let's fast forward to the present.
Yes.
Talk about what you brought today, what you're doing here, how to do this, because the other thing that I see is you got guys in California with Arizona plates and Florida plates.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I say Florida plates?
Hey, Florida, you can register a fucking bucket with no turn signals, windshield, or nothing.
Exactly.
I mean, California doesn't give a shit about that stuff either, if you pass emissions. So since 1989, you've been able to bring in cars 25 years old exempt from NHTSA safety.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to crash test them, all that stuff. The EPA actually says at 21 years old in original configuration, it's exempt from EPA requirements. So 21 years old, EPA exempt. 25 years old, NHTSA exempt, we can bring these cars legally into the country. This is an 89 R32, so this car is being legal to bring here since 2014.
Yo, it's crazy that this is an 89.
This is 89.
This is a 89.
So both of these are 89. This car's being repainted. It was original gunmetal. It's being painted like Bayside blue, which is like R34 blue. I bought the car like this. It actually had some other stuff done to it.
Yeah, I was totally expecting, when he told me an R32 was coming, I was totally just expecting a black or dark color R32.
So, I mean, I bought this car because I was going to sell it. It had a 6-speed transmission in it. I took it to Ars Day, not this last year, the year before, and I blew it up. And then I was like, I don't really need the transmission and stuff, so I used the transmission money to rebuild the engine.
Sold the transmission to rebuild the engine.
So
that come up.
The GetDrag transmission is worth about $6,000. In the car, doesn't make the car worth $6,000 more. I put the 5-speed back in it, then I took it to Ars Day again. So, but I kind of like it. So
that honestly wasn't a bad deal for you. $6,000 for something.
No,
you're not worried about breaking this trans, right?
I will break it.
So
because I break them.
So is this? Hey.
Hey. I have the hurt.
I meant to break.
Wear off.
I meant to break.
It's gonna wear off on you.
Sounds like he's already got it.
To blow one of these things up, you have to do something pretty stupid, and I've blown more of them up than anybody in the U.S. So,
Sport compact car back in the day had something called the Ultimate Street Car Challenge.
Yeah.
And it was before the Optima. So they had all sorts of crazy testing to it. And it was the best testing and the biggest challenge ever. But they also had something called gross display of horsepower. And you could do whatever you want. This guy strips down to his boxers and does a center spin with an R32?
R33.
It was a 33. And that was the coolest thing I ever saw. And I thought, no.
So does that mean we're going to get a gross display of horsepower today?
We'll get to the scumbagging later. Let's talk about the car.
So is this your personal?
This one isn't actually my personal car, but I kind of like it, so I think I'm going to keep it for right now. I have a Nismo R32 number 500. That's my car.
That's sick.
And
We might have to see that one next.
Yeah, if it ever gets done, it's going to be kind of a little bit more insane than this car. But
Right.
anyway, so this car, it's got Tomei pistons, it's got cams, it's got R35 coils on here, it's 300ZX MAVs, HKS 2540 turbos.
Is that stock intake manifold?
So this is a stock. Basically, this is a collector because on this car, it's a turbocharged car and it's individual throttle body, right? So you got throttle bodies here. I mean, I call a plenum, anywhere after the throttle body, and so this car has a really tiny little plenum because everything is pre-throttle body.
Right.
Now, when the throttle blades are open, obviously everything is pressurized and it's all going in the engine. But
Is this a catch can? What is?
that's catch can, yeah. On eBay, if you look up this is like dry carbon fiber, and so I needed a catch can, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. So I mean, like a dry carbon can like this. I mean, I don't know what I paid for. I probably paid like $60 or something.
$60?
Yeah, so
I gotta get me a new catch can.
If you
Dang.
Get your eBay on, Bert.
If you look up let's say NASCAR dry carbon or NASCAR, and there's all these like extra little
Just
weird
crazy
fillers.
parts. You got AC in this thing?
Yeah.
Oh! Oh!
AC street car.
I put my seats in here, these are Nismo seats.
They're rare.
Those are very rare,
Yeah.
actually.
What?
Oh, that's Roy.
Roy Narvaez.
That's Roy, because Roy's a pain in the ass. I figured I'd bring him.
That's kind of how I am with Kakawa.
Yeah.
I keep a picture of Kakawa in my car.
The Time Attack Kakawa.
Ah, okay.
So, and I mean, this car, it's on 1810 BBS wheels,
Yep.
classic wheels. It's got upgraded Brembo. I don't know what. I think this the front or I would probably be considered what you call an F40 size, which is like a 345, I think, rotor. It's on Buddy Club suspension, which is like Japanese typical oversprung, underdamped. But I haven't really had a chance to really play around with it. So these are the takeoff. So
These are the One Lap of America.
These are the One Lap of
Siennas.
America Sienna.
So is this
Shout out to Don
is that
Gardner.
your company?
That's us. So yeah.
And so this is a company vehicle that you guys take around and race and have fun with something.
Yeah.
Is it for sale?
It's not really for sale right now, but I mean, it needs to be eventually.
Trade you an RX-7 for it.
We've got a bunch of RX-7s. We've got like 5 or 6 RX-7s.
He wants to trade you his RX-7, but I want to sell him one of the Affini JDM RX-7s.
You got FCs or FDs?
FDs.
Yeah, that's what I figured. No one has FCs really. I definitely wouldn't pay all that extra money for right-hand drive.
Well, some people will.
I know. It's just not my style. This is my favorite Skyline.
I've been around these cars for 19 years. I drive 32, 33, 34. I really like the 32. And the reason why is when you get in there, you really are driving the car. R33 and R34 are much bigger, and you're kind of wrapped around you, kind of like draped around you. This car's a little more raw.
What kind of power?
I drove it at Laguna on 7 pounds of boost, and it runs pretty good at 7 or 8. Right now it's at 14.
So you guys obviously import the best and the baddest, and then you also import other things.
So this is a Pike Factory car is what they call them. So they're these weird cars that Nissan built. So you've got the B1, you've got the Pao, the Figaro, and the Escargot. So, and they're all these oddball little cars that they built. They have like this retro styling. So, and they're built like on the Micra chassis, Nissan Micra. So it's pretty like common. So it has like all the retro styling of like an old European car, but all the convenience of a modern.
I like this.
Yeah.
This is flossy, man.
And then
little
like
fold out Johnny. The interior is fire. This is nice though.
Look at this too. This is like, Scotto's the only one that appreciates this like Citroen 2CV influence right
honestly,
there.
This has the exact outline of a Mini.
Of a Mini?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting little retro car, and like the Figaro is another good one that people really like. If you are an ugly woman or a gay man, I suggest R32 GTR for you.
So if you want to go cruising for dudes,
This is
the GTR is the car.
GTR is the car for you.
And if you're looking for chicks, get a Pao.
Get a Pao or a Figaro. Yeah. I mean,
So now this one's legal in California too?
it can be. We have to bring cars into compliance before we can sell them here in California. So if you illegally import a car and then you go into a place like Florida where they'll let you title anything, you can title that car. Now, federally, not legal, the federal government controls the importation. So if it wasn't imported right, the federal government can still seize it.
So if they just happen to come across your records, fingering through the folders, they're like, oh, this one's illegal. We're going to go take it.
Cars all have records. The first guy who registers it, you know, that name shows up in the records.
So he's also...
You feel like because the car was registered in Florida already, you could easily move it over to California.
Well, no,
that's what you're saying.
No. So what happens? So, okay, look. So you are illegally importing cars.
Yes.
Just in the area. And you're titling them all here in Florida.
And selling them.
And so there's going to be 10 or 20 cars all under your name. Okay, and you sell them off to all different people all throughout the U.S. Well, one of these guys gets popped, and they find them all back, and they funnel all back to you.
The other way around.
And then
you're in trouble.
And then they funnel back to you. Then they funnel back out again to all the guys who have those cars.
So all the cars have records.
Yep.
The cops can easily see that John O'Derry registered 20 or 30 cars. And
and then bad things happen from there. Like
the most complicated thing for me to understand is, how could somebody do donuts in an R32 here? How could somebody possibly do that?
Tires
the
are pretty
meats?
sticky.
Yeah.
So
those are
they're RE71Rs are pretty sticky. So
Well, let's get the water going.
or to see a launch of anything.
I can do. I mean,
I need some
make it two-wheel
scumbaggery.
drive.
I've heard from different people that there's some kind of proportioning thing to where you can switch it to.
Okay. So it has what's called the Attesa system, which is an all-wheel drive control system.
Yeah.
It's a transfer case. The transfer case is controlled by a hydraulic pump. The hydraulic pump locks up a clutch pack, and the more that locks the hydraulic clutch up, the more it puts power to the front wheels. So the main shaft of the transmission runs through a gear with a chain and with a clutch pack in it, and as it locks up more, then it drives more to the front. The way it's controlled is there's a G sensor in the center of the car, and there's wheel speed sensors, and so it can control the torque split from there. What you can buy is aftermarket controllers to control how much goes any direction, or you can pull this four-wheel drive fuse here out,
popping
and
fuses?
then it'll be rear-wheel drive.
So let's just do some donuts. I mean, what are we worried about here? We've given you 30 minutes of talking, so now let's do some us stuff. Oh my God, you were just a sneaky.
I need my refreshment when I watch.
You don't have to explain yourself to us. Let's get to the donuts. Adding horsepower.
Add horsepower.
Only reason we're doing this is because He's got big ass tires with all-wheel drive, but if this doesn't work, he's just gonna unplug that thing we just showed you and go rear-wheel drive. So after assessing the lot, this is your ideal start point. I don't know anything about all-wheel drive donuts.
I'm gonna try to get a little bit more water on.
Because it just kind of cyclones, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I believe in you. I believe in him too. Let's hear it again. Oh yeah, that was beautiful. Oh my God, it sounds so good. Oh my God, you're a maniac. Absolute maniac. Yes. Yo, that is a first. 100% a first. You did a little wall tapping on your muffler, bud.
That's all right.
Do it again.
Man, that's all right.
Is that like an OG high power or something? What is that? He doesn't even know.
Zero.
Oh, you're not done yet? Oh.
You're good?
I think you pretty much covered it.
I can't breathe.
I can't either. But on that note, that's a wrap! Nad, stop playing with beers. Oh!